Okay,
All those.
I got 6 o'clock, call this meeting of the Perry Township Board of Trustees order, first order of business, all the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. While you're all standing, if you'll, keep standing for a second, just take a moment of silence, for the passing of, our administrator's mother-in-law, Kathy Beatty. Thank you. Okay, before the board is a set of minutes for regular sessions. September 26th, for motion to approve. I'll make that motion. Vote. Second. Oh, second. Yeah. Vote.
Yes.
Yes. Public comment period, Brookside.
The pig roast and party is October 14th, 4 o'clock. The Ohio State game has conveniently been firmly scheduled for noon that day, which is absolutely perfect, but the show must go on. So,
And I think there's something with the school for a fall festival.
The Fall Fest, yeah, the PK Fall Fest. That's on the 13th.
right, the night before.
Yeah.
Okay. Worthington Hills. The meeting is next week, so I don't think there's any highlights. I know they are working on some type of fall event, but I think it's coming together a little bit late. Epcon and Ravello. You know, I have anything, but go ahead.
All residents of Epcon are upset over the castle's roast over there.
We'll take care of that tonight.
And number two, 29th of October is gonna be the grandchildren's trick or treat night, 4 to 6 p.m. So all
Okay.
residents there will bring in the grandkids in. Just a warning for the chief.
Did you say 4 to 6?
Is that, let me ask you this question, because I think ours is, we set it for the 31st.
Yeah.
Is the 29th a particular?
Sunday, it's just for convenience for the kids to come over, go to school,
Gotcha,
spend time with grandparents.
gotcha. Yeah.
And you did that last year, right?
Yes.
We'll be down there, chief. All right. I know we have some speakers this evening. Deputy, anything, a good sheriff or yourself?
Just to, I know you guys will have a meeting between now and then, but the 20th is the prescription drug take back day. We'll be participating again. What 7 locations? I'm not sure, chief, I should ask you while we're standing up here if you guys have one, but just a heads up, we'll be kind of all over the county. I know it's a big one for us in the spring, so the fall is usually bigger, so. But just that, and then SWAT team and our undercover units came together for an operation. We made 140 total arrests. 35 of those were felony arrests. So between warrants and pressure arrests, that was all over the county. Obviously,
Okay.
not very much. Or very much.
We don't have practice.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. Yes, I want to make sure that was clear. So.
We have township resolutions and state law. that
Yes,
prevents that.
exactly. Yes, yes. And everywhere else in Franklin County.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All my other 16 towns.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Do you have by chance a map or a list of the other drug take back
I can
locations?
get you one. I can email
Can
you. Yeah,
Okay.
I talked to my sergeant today. He gave me the list, but he didn't email it out
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, so I'll make sure I get it. And, I can email it to
Okay.
you.
I appreciate it.
as well.
Appreciate it. I want to try to get it on somebody else's website,
Absolutely.
Township Association. So.
Anything
Okay.
else? Any questions for me?
No,
If you don't mind.
kids doing well?
Kids are doing well. Actually, I'm gonna head to pick up from soccer practice.
There we go.
If you guys have anything else? So,
Okay.
peace. Everyone needs to sleep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dave and Nathan, I can't remember which one goes first, so.
Well, good evening. I want to say welcome to Stormwater Awareness Week. That's the big thing this week. And this is our kind of annual time to get out and talk to elected officials about the importance of our stormwater infrastructure. I handed out some little handouts that are just a snapshot of some of the things that we and your folks are doing within the township. These are the kind of things that we track for stormwater permits. And just kind of keep running total of what's going on in your township. So if it's something there that you're interested, maybe there's something that you're doing, no programs in Perry Township on youth education. That's maybe because you're not at schools in your location, but other programs like that. If you see stuff that you like, maybe consider for your residents. Feel free to contact Stormwater. We are there to help you and help us achieve our stormwater permit goals. So that's about it for me. I've got some handouts for Stormwater Awareness Week. There's no date as far as year on these, so these can be used over. And it's also a QR code that people can go to a toolbox and see how they can participate. Also got our plant sale cards for your residents. We have our annual plant sale coming up in the spring. Everybody likes that. Thanks for buying those trees and handing those out to residents. That was something that's noted on our reporting. So good for your township folks. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Hello. I could drop these off. I don't think I've brought any of those for a while, but Nathan Rock, one of the water quality section supervisor for the health department, just to continue to remind folks if they see something or especially smell something that's not right, to give us a call and we can follow up. We have a what I would say is a very robust operational maintenance program here in the county, and we take it very seriously. We have, I think it's just over 50 discharging septic systems in Perry Township here that we look at on an annual basis, and if they have issues, we follow up and we tell them to bring us back to compliance. So the other thing, I wasn't sure if you were wondering, so I'm gonna mention it. The residents on West Case will be connected to sanitary sewer imminently. That's something we were able to do through our WPCLF program, and we've got a contract signed actually with Buckeye Construction and Excavating. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but that chapter will be coming to a close, which I think is a fantastic thing for her. A good thing.
That our Portage project?
Something like that. I can't remember the name of the actual project, but she has an aerator that was,
West Case.
yeah, West Case, that was not doing so well. So
Oh, you mean,
Yes.
Yes,
I
am so sorry.
no, that's fine.
Different project, got it.
There's the bigger project, but that was
That's the
the smaller project.
Got it.
Yes,
So that actually got closed. I mean, that case is closed?
it will be. Yes.
Wow. You deserve a prize for that. So, thank
It's a
you.
pleasure.
for your
Any
help.
questions for me or anything that?
So I just have one question.
Okay.
At one point in time, the health department was going to do a GIS mapping of certain systems around the
So.
county.
So Someone Water has initiated some projects, especially in incorporated areas. We had talked about doing that here. If there would be interest here in the township, I would have, Josh Garber, you know him from, yeah, I would say reach out to Josh and he would be the contact person. Josh and Aaron Abear, which is spelled Herbert.
Yeah.
They're the ones over there that do the actual mapping lead system with the finding of components, those types of things.
We've got their information. They've been helping us with, they provided the stormwater maps for our asset management. Program for share that.
Super. Okay. Dave, one quick question. I mean, for the school, do you have an ongoing relationship with the Worthington School District? I know we have like 3 school districts. but,
Yeah,
we have
I
2 in
believe
North-
we do, and have to talk to Linda on that.
Okay.
She's going to most of the schools.
Okay. If not, if you could reach out to us, maybe we can connect you, make sure that there's something going on in our 2 elementary schools.
Yeah, we'll do.
That'd be great. I think for science teachers especially. Okay. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Take care.
See you later.
Thank you.
Take care.
Tacoma. Vision and Wildlife.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I don't prepare a particular set of agendas, so the background that I'll start out with is I'm the wildlife management supervisor, which includes 13 central Ohio counties, Franklin County. Everything from research to surveys to private and public land management falls under my TO for those counties. So in the last just few months, this will be the 4th municipality that I visited. Sharon Township, Clintonville, Worthington, and now Perry Township. And I've also worked with several other, Columbus, City of Columbus, a lot of Franklin County communities over the last years. But here recently, it's been pretty busy on this side of the county, obviously. So my initial contact was asking about animal feeding issues, but I was kind of the impression there's a lot going on. So my role would be to try to take questions and provide some answers if I could. If you have a specific issue that you would like me to try to address, I will. If I can't come up with a good response right now, I'll research it and get back to you. So with that, I'm here to serve at your will as long as you'll have me.
So, first of all, thank you for coming.
Sure.
Anything for DNR folks. Is there, and I failed to follow up on something that I told Beth, I thought existed, I was gonna call Jason Fallon and say, hey, isn't there some kind of instructional video that we can put on our website about the do's and the don'ts about wild animals, don't feed them, that kind of thing. I thought at one point in time that DNR had that. Maybe not, maybe I just dreamt that. I don't
They
know.
may have it. There is a really good educational campaign on orphaned and injured
Okay,
animals. I could not locate. Beth did email me
Yeah.
something, still something that we can look into. I did ask our Division of Wildlife Information and Education section
Right.
if they had any ideas of this resource, and they couldn't pinpoint one for them.
and maybe it was a different organization that did it.
It could very well be
Okay,
a partner agency
Yeah.
or something like that. I mean, as a general rule, we never recommend feeding wildlife. We're not talking about recreational backyard bird feeders. We're
Right.
talking about, larger scale.
or coyotes or foxes.
Yeah,
Deer.
even ducks and geese obviously
Right.
create a big issue. So the animals really don't need it. It's purely a human factor for their enjoyment. A lot of times it's justified, like, oh, the poor things need our help, and they really don't, but they're gonna take it. They're gonna take the handouts, absolutely for sure. But the other real common thing I hear a lot is, well, they were here first, so we owe it to them. And really, our municipal land use practices creates perfect habitat and environment for many species. And probably the species that you get the most complaints and concerns about are those that are thriving and doing well. Some of those complaints are warranted. Others are really an educational issue of that's just what they do and you're okay, you're safe. It's not the latest incident obviously was the child that was bitten by a coyote down on the southern part of the county. Earlier, to my knowledge, Officer Supervisor Brad Kiger's been in Franklin County 23 years. This only made like the second incident that he was aware of. One was with a police officer. I think it was a traffic incident. That animal had distemper so it wasn't healthy. And then this child incident and, maybe one other that I'm neglecting to think of, but from a national standpoint, that's extremely rare. So most of the complaints that I get are, on the lines of what I would call real wildlife. We don't do, bugs and rats and mice and those kinds of things. That's for our partners at the health department. But skunks, raccoons, possums, squirrels, coyotes, and deer and geese seem to be the top listers.
Well, so I'm in Brookside Estates and close to the country club there. There's a ravine and creek and all of that jazz, wonderful, beautiful area for wildlife. And we've had a kind of a 50-50 split from residents who are very concerned about the foxes that are living in our neighborhood. And of course, the skunks. As an owner of dogs that really think they're gonna win against those skunks, I can tell you that certainly, they can be a nuisance. But, I know you've fielded calls and you've helped me with, folks that are very concerned that, the fox is going to attack their animals or going to attack people or kids. And of course, skunks are more of just a nuisance factor. Is there any, and I understand it might not be a video, but even, kind of like the, a deck, for lack of a better word, or an image, screenshots that we can share?
We do have some information I can work on, putting that together. We have, coyotes in my backyard, uninvited house guests type, fact sheets
Yeah,
that are available. Those are some resources. Some are dated, some are not. The other thing is, we have folks, that can come and do community presentations that can check off all the above. Kind of how to interact with wildlife and suburbia. Many of those fears are like you said, maybe more nuisance based than they are. So the real, and I will say that the real danger comes from human behavior and the aspect of habituating these animals. If they try to make them like pets and they get them where there's no fear of humans, that's when something can occur that's tragic. That honestly, I can't say this as 100% factual, but it was a sub-adult coyote. They had no fear of humans. There was a large concentration of homeless folks there as well in that area. Very, very used to the people. And it was more than likely a demand behavior thing. Like if you've ever had your dog where they paw you and want attention. I don't think, it was national media really blew up. I was surprised it calmed down as quickly as it did, but coyotes are not chasing people through the streets, or aggression. Those generally are, any aggression usually comes from habituation or misconceived as aggression. So if you have a tamed or more tamed animal that's used to handouts from someone in the neighborhood, they see all people as a handout. So they will see someone, some goodies, right? Well, they'll take off and they may even take off running. And then the faster the person tries to run to get away, the faster the animal might go. And it's perceived as, I'm being attacked. Not always the case by any means. Then go ahead, Chief.
Oh, no, just a question when you're done.
Then there's the mama bear syndrome. Thank goodness we don't have too many bears, although we did have 4th of July weekend. We had a bear in southern Franklin County, which that's happened about 3 times in over 20 some years too. So deer with fawns and canines, especially dog walkers. And of course, as I'm sure law enforcement will tell you, leash laws are always strictly enforced and obeyed, right? The dogs are never off leash.
Never.
So evolutionarily speaking, to a white-tailed doe that has a baby, a 5-pound Yorkie is a timber wolf. During that time of the season, they don't differentiate. So generally, when you really investigate what happens in some of those cases, the dog's off leash, or they're startled, come around a corner of a bike trail or walking path. That's generally what the aggression is attributed to. Then you have the people who are hand feeding the deer. So you get the opposite of baby season, you get the rut or the breeding season, you may have some amorous males out there that, or they just are looking for their apple as well, and then, you know, antlers on them and stuff. Most of the injuries that I've really seen that were severe were people fleeing or attempting to flee, falls, broken arms, head injuries, things like that. Either they're less mobile or just, you know, backing up, tripping over parking bumpers when this 15-pound Canada goose is trying to protect their nest.
Mhm.
That's where serious injuries happen. So that's an educational approach. The habituated feeding, you know, that's a problem. You know, that starts with no feeding ordinances. Hard to enforce. The intent necessarily isn't to go out and write a bunch of tickets. It's to have that in a place for educational reasons and to have, you know, gross offenders, repeat violations, things like that. Literally, you'll have people will take a stance that I'm bringing in 2,000 pounds of corn, dumping it in my yard, and you can put me in jail if you want to. Going to do it. That's what those ordinances are for, not, you know, soccer moms feeding ducks and geese at the park. Throw up some bread.
So Chief, we don't have a no feeding ordinance. Do
And
you have a template for that?
yes, we
Type-
do.
that
But
type
I
of
can provide
resolution?
you with some templates.
Okay.
Worthington just passed one. I would recommend starting there. I'll get with their city manager and start with that, like council person, Dave Robinson.
Yep.
Helped draft that. Ethan Barnhouse, Robin is there. I don't know if she's acting still because their manager left. I'm trying.
Well, Robins are
She was
still, I think, still acting.
Is she still acting?
Yeah,
So
I don't know. what
they'll-
to make
That's
of it.
where I would start. It's pretty well put together.
You got it?
Dublin has some stuff there as well. They have a wildlife educator in Dublin, Barbara Ray is her name. Great resource. They may actually have some of these educational videos and.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Barbara Ray is her name. She's kind of a natural resource or wildlife education person that's on the payroll of Dublin.
Feral cats don't fall into your purview, do they?
They do not fall under our authority, no. That would be, you know, some places don't have authority, but, you know, animal control officer, I don't know if Franklin County has one. You know, cats are a really unique thing because a lot of times they're interpreted as free spirit kind of animal. We don't necessarily require tags. I can tell you, to me, they're the absolute plague for wildlife. Free ranging cats. You know, I like my house cat, got no problem with that, but they kill billions with a B annually. Migratory birds and the millions of small mammals that are native. They can't help, that's what they do. That's the nature of a cat. So, you know, to put it in perspective, they've caused extinctions of species around the world on a few occasions. And they kill more birds than high-rise buildings, electrical, and wind energy all combined. So that's a tough one. And they also, people blame ticks on the deer. They're a bigger issue with ticks than the deer. Also, actually, mice are a big factor with ticks. But deer are the biggest thing on the landscape, so they take the biggest brunt of the blame. But no, we don't have any authority.
I didn't
there's-
think so. I thought I'd ask though.
There's only one state that I'm aware of that their wildlife agency does, and I think it's Wisconsin or Minnesota.
So how often does a hawk attack a person?
Well, during nesting,
I want to know about this.
during nesting season, there are certain species of hawk that will protect just like a Canada goose, they'll swoop. Sometimes I can't explain. I mean, I've heard of the random, you never say never, but typically fledglings or, yeah, or when there's a nest, they're almost always red-shouldered hawks a lot of times.
Was it red shoulder?
It's a larger hawk. I've had some great horned owl issues in Franklin County, but Yeah, they're just trying to get you away from their babies as well, is what's happening there. Now, that's not a really easy fix because they want to come back every year. So a lot of times the only good recommendation other than removal, which you can go through the hoops to do that, is to remove the tree. And the trees are very valuable. For thinning sometimes, you can also remove during the dormant, the inactive nesting period, remove the nest, maybe do some prune, try the least invasive first, obviously. But
Or just.
sometimes the tree has to go, and that's a tough call.
They haven't cut that tree, have they? They cut some.
Sure.
How many cases on average do you see of rabies in like across, like Franklin County or the state?
Well,
Yeah,
to my knowledge, there's only been one coyote that was confirmed positive, and it was up north. I think it did bite someone northeast. We don't see rabies. We get a lot of distemper,
Yeah.
a lot of parvo, leptospirosis, things like that. The symptoms clinically
Were the
look
same. Every call when I was on the road was every animal had rabies.
Yeah.
And I met a wildlife officer because one of the first calls I called.
Yeah.
He came out, and I think it's the gentleman you're referring to. This
Probably Officer Tiger. He's been in Franklin County 23
Yeah.
years.
And he said on an average, there are 1 or 2 cases per year in the whole state.
Maybe, yeah,
Okay.
and the majority of the animals that are positive are, it's a raccoon strain rabies, it's usually raccoons. Northeast Ohio, USDA, Wildlife Services, and a lot of other municipalities work together for aerial vaccine drops up that way. So there is the reason we don't allow for relocation and movement of raccoons, like catch it in your backyard, take it to the park.
Yeah.
That's because of disease transmission. So
Okay.
the rabies vector species like raccoons, skunks, possums, coyotes, foxes, they have to be either released on site, which I'll explain what that actually means, or euthanized. There's not an option to lawfully relocate those. And there is no rehabilitation for white-tailed deer in the state of Ohio. So if it's injured, it either makes it on its own. Sometimes we can intervene with mutated, but there's no, the best case is keep the wild. So the relocation on site is you get an animal in a dwelling or something like that. So you catch the animal, you repair the entry, and you release on site. Raccoons with babies is a common one in chimneys, or they knock a vent cap. People don't want to euthanize the animals, so they can do what's called a adoption or nursing boxes. Put them in a box outside, fix everything. Mom comes back, takes them, and moves them someplace else, hopefully not into the neighbor's house.
Or something.
But rabies,
You got-
probably the number one animal that has rabies in Ohio would be bats.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's
So-
true about the bats.
Yes, and they're still a great animal, don't get me wrong, many of them are not, they got a great pollinator and pest control. A lot of them, they're not aggressive like you think of rabies, full yellow movements and stuff like that. But I would say, deer is the number one thing on the issue right now. Beth had sent me some information about some feeding codes that really don't apply. Those were for state forests, code. The Division of Wildlife doesn't have, other than on our properties, our state wildlife areas, there's no feeding or baiting. Baiting is really and the reason for that is, we have no baiting in 3 counties right now because of chronic wasting disease, but on a wildlife area, it's public. So if you're putting out bait, you don't know who's where. So it could be a safety issue, but bird feeders, and then of course migratory, waterfowl, you can't lawfully bait and hunt out.
So, I mean, if you can send us whatever you have about the no feeding resolution, I mean, we'll reach out to, Chief will reach out to Rob.
Now, I know,
get letters from that.
Worthington did just create a deer task force. So I agreed to be on that as a non-voting member, of course. They are at various stages. They have the no feeding. They're starting to develop a management plan.
Okay.
We have templates for plans like that, as well as other technical advice, but what I tell everybody is, in most cases, you have a human problem versus a wildlife problem. That's not 100% true, but generally that's the hardest part. I didn't realize that I would be as much of a social scientist as I am a biologist when I went through college. But there is perfect, there's solutions, but you can expect different results on whatever you decide to do. And it's almost like the law of physics. If you do something, you can expect a reaction of some form. So doing absolutely nothing is certainly an option, may not be the best option, but you have to decide, okay, how much resources are available, what really is the problem. If we start to talk about human health and safety issues with vehicle strikes, things like that, then, that's the point that triggers me to get a little more aggressive on my management recommendation.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no
We
problem.
Appreciate it.
I got a couple of cards that I
Okay.
can leave.
Great.
Just,
Do you have Beth's card or?
I have their email
Okay,
address,
that's
that I can, if I can get into these true spec pants have about 8 pockets. I don't know what's tactical
Safe
about
and
that. If
protected.
you need something in a hurry, I don't know how you're gonna get there.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
So I
If you
tell
think of
folks that when
something-
those skunks show up, just to call you.
Well,
That's what I
no,
thought.
let me, maybe I better say that. Division of Wildlife
I'm
is not
kidding.
providing nuisance animal control or removal. Again, we're triggered just about like the chief is. If it's a human health and safety issue and we have resources, we can send. But we'll tell you on the phone, and then we'll give you a whole list on our website of who you can hire to come and remove this.
It's a great thing, kind of want to.
And then we call Dave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's a viable, we do require licensing and certification, so for commercial folks to do that, so. I don't endorse one business over another, but.
We have a former officer that went into that business, so he's done, let's say some pro bono.
Retired chief
so.
of police, does it also. He was involved, with a lot of coyote work. Yeah. Yeah, he speaks in some of our, I will plug in, November, we have the Ohio Community Wildlife Cooperative Conference we hold every year at OSU. Started out as a Franklin County thing with partners. Educate municipal decision makers that are non-wildlife professionals to help make good wildlife decisions. So we do try to plug that. We send out to township association, mayors associations, all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
We get about 150 people there. That's, if you want to send somebody, we'll have law enforcement, animal control, council people, city managers, so on, that attend that. It's very educational.
Good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. You all have a good
Okay.
day. Now I get to take the wife out for dinner.
Okay. Zoning, two things. I know we have something with the attorneys, right? And Beth told me, but I need to refresh my memory of where we are with it.
So Jen, Beth and I met last Wednesday to go through Beth's list of that. Jen is taking those and updating all of the good stuff. And if you have anything, this is sort of the last.
I don't, yeah.
And the other thing is like, as soon as we updated the zoning code, it's gonna be out of date. So it's a never ending thing. And then if you guys have read through it, you guys have any questions, give us that. Jen can then answer it. Because what we're trying to do is the next meeting, start the process of giving it to start the process. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Keith, how we doing on Oakhorn?
Oakhorn, she, in touch with the homeowner at least twice a week. I was there too, in their backyard to do some, some drainage issues too, but the daughter has purchased tools and has cleared out the back almost completely. I was there yesterday. And she had a big pile of brush that has to be hauled off. that you can't see from the street, but she did get the back almost completely done, which I was amazed at. The front's been, a lot has happened. The two things that remain are the big dead tree and car that just sits there and doesn't move and it's dirty and all that. The car is licensed and supposedly operable, but it just doesn't ever get moved and it sits there and collects leaves and all that.
Can we talk to them about that?
Yeah.
What's the location of that?
It's 1366 Oakborn.
It's on the east side of Oakland.
Yeah,
Is it
it's on the north.
I got a question about that one on Clubview with the brick driveway that's kind of like never been completed. Did you ever see that one?
Yeah,
That they claim there's two unlicensed, inoperable cars in the back of
Cookie
that.
South?
Yeah, Clubview South.
on Clubview South.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got a,
Driveway's never been completed.
it's got a brick driveway, and I noticed it not so long ago. That they look like they might not have a twin license, but kind of funny. It's like they've always been kind of messing with that house. They sort of did their own. Yeah, those are expensive driveways to put in.
Yeah.
It was like a UII or DIY project, and then they kind of went halfway down. Then they decided to start at the bottom, and it's like the railroad that doesn't line up. You know, they have like a channel that big and it goes across the driveway.
I'll look into it.
It's kind of ugly, but you know, but the cars was the one
I know
I
what
got
you're
a
talking
question about.
On the outside.
Yep.
On the south side.
Almost kind of across
That'd be
from
sad.
like where Deagle used to live.
Yeah.
And the other question I get every once in a while, the ones on green side. Do we keep track at all about RVs that are parked, you know? Some people seem to have it there, you know, 20 times a year.
Yeah,
The limit's, I think, 7. You know, I said,
the limit is 7, but twice a year you can have it for 7 days, and you have 14 total. I haven't noticed one on Green, so there's one on Green Vale that's.
there's one on green side, there's one on Clubview that's kind of right before Circle on the Green. But, you know, I haven't noticed it as a problem, but I can't see the one on the green side, so.
I'll keep an eye out for that, but yeah, I have notified 2 folks in the township that they have to find storage for their RVs.
So I thought the rules, I told them, I think, so it's 7 days twice.
From what I understand, 7 days twice.
Okay.
Because you got 2 seasons,
Right.
prepping and unprepping.
Right.
But a lot of times people, I think, they go away for the weekend, it's there when they come home for a couple of days, it's there before they go
Back
for a
to
couple of
store.
days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I even had a Brookside resident call me and say, I'm gonna have my boat in my driveway for 7 days because this and that and the other, and I said, you're fine. So.
Right,
I saw that.
Any
So,
other old business?
Oakborn, I'm
Yeah.
still working with her to get a contractor that's gonna take down that tree, so.
That would be great.
It can start,
Okay,
and I'm giving her, time to do all that.
enough leeway to get some.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So she's gotten 3/4 of it done, which is good. So that's good.
Gotcha.
I think some neighbors helped this weekend.
Huh?
I think some neighbors helped her clear out that backyard this weekend.
Yeah,
There's been a lot of neighbors that have said they wanted to volunteer. I was said, I probably shouldn't do that. Not, that's not a good thing. It's, but we were in the midst of,
declaring news.
declaring it a nuisance, so I told them we really need to go through the process first, so. That's good. I mean, we're in the process now.
They want to reach out this weekend about hauling debris, any ideas?
Let's talk about the castle property.
The castle, so, we sent certified letters to both the castle address and to their tax mailing address. They did receive the one, I got the other one back. He called last week while I was gone, left a message and emailed. Said he received the message, he apologized profusely for letting it go this long. He says he has hired a crew that is going to do everything needed, and he has a drop dead date of October 10th when it'll be done. So I told him we were gonna proceed with declaring the property a nuisance in case that doesn't happen. And that I would monitor it, and after the 10th, if it's not done, that we would. We have a bid in for declaring of it. So
What's this plan for that property?
he's expecting a rebuild. He's got plans to rebuild. That's what his stated intent is, that he's gonna.
Does Epcot still look at this, would Epcot still like to purchase that?
Yeah. Epcot would love to purchase it.
They don't. There's not enough room to
There's
put
not enough.
anything there.
Building. Yeah,
That's why they sold it.
I mean, it's there's just not enough
Not
building
enough
space
Well,
to build additional homes. And that, we thought we'd just be kind of like a phase 3, blah, blah,
Right.
blah, and already
Just
looked at
not
that
enough.
20 times over, so.
I spoke with Dave Elder from Epcot this morning.
Yeah.
He said he had a guy that was gonna go over there and just take it. Epcot will get involved.
But Andy's gonna make a motion, we're gonna,
So the guy I talked to is the guy that Epcon uses, okay, Ryan. And so Ryan's prepared to do it when we give him the go ahead, okay.
I move to declare the property at 5622 Riverside Drive a nuisance.
second vote,
Yes.
yes. Oh, you see,
Thank
make
you.
it happen.
Will do.
Road department, salt barn, got a lot of information, you wanna start, and then Andy can round it up.
Yeah, all the bids are in there. I've got bids for the demolition. The structure, the price on the spreadsheet of the structure includes the open end door. The cast in place walls, those are ODOT spec. Salt barn pads. The apron dumpster, there's different options for fencing, we wanted to look at that. And then there's a couple different options for paving. What that's included in the price there. Spreadsheet. When it's added up in the total, it's just for the full depth. Repairs. Where the salt barn and shed come down. Basically that back end of the property.
And I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right part here. So I'm looking at the summary of proposals, of salt burn proposals.
Yeah.
And then you're saying which column are you going down?
If you go down the Perry Township side, that's all our cost.
Okay,
Johnson and Locks, that's pretty
okay,
much breaking down there.
All right. thank you.
The other thing is I uploaded, the one thing that we could talk about, and I think it's a cost savings is, and we talked a little bit about this last week, was the poured walls versus the blocks. So I had uploaded to the Dropbox some photos. I went down to Mulch and checked out their thing. They have several of these pretty large ones. One of the things that I did notice is that they use reclaimed concrete blocks, so they look pretty rough. I guess they get them from ODOT and then just, use them. The one thing I did notice, and I don't think regardless of whether or not we do the poured wall, but they do an inner layer, like a small block. So if we were to do the concrete blocks, they run another, like just inside where you're scraping to keep the plows from, hitting the outside wall and moving. But I talked to the guy down there and I see, because they're moving really big. I mean, massive quantities of mulch and soil and everything like that. I know it's not salt, but they're pushing it. And he said they haven't had any issues with the movement of walls, but he did say that it's probably because of that, that now they do double up, but with the amount of that what we're using to put it for salt loading and what they're using, two totally different things. So they have to have that in layer in there. Steve, I know that your goal is to enclose from a security fence standpoint, but I think that do we need to do anything? If we built this thing, do we need to do anything with the fencing? And I'm more concerned with our neighbors to the north because they are, do we want to increase that to an 8 foot? I'm just saying from a I wasn't
Right.
thinking from a security standpoint, but I think we're gonna have to, personally, I think we're gonna have to wait. Because to swallow 85 or $120,000 is quite a bit, and our goal is to get a new salt barn, so thing doesn't crash.
Right.
And then, so from a fencing standpoint, do we want to do anything with the fence to the north? And I was thinking an 8 foot, we do an 8 foot vinyl fence or something, at least start, but if we want it eventually to be security,
Right.
that's a whole nother discussion.
But I think the current fence, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the current fence can stay until we make a decision on fence, because I think at some point we need to close the back behind the police building where the tree is, where people cut through,
Right.
and at least close it from the police building around to, depending on what the facilities look like from there.
Okay.
So it doesn't need to be done today.
Yeah.
I think, but it's once facilities are figured out, I think it needs to be added, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But that security fence, I mean, when this opens up over here, that's when we're really gonna start.
Yeah, that's
close
the
things down.
concern, is the amount of traffic, and the whole property doesn't need it, I think, from the police department side, and, with Homeland Security and is it OSHA that I'm thinking of mine, they have a requirement to provide a safe working space, and part of that is the enclosed side, and that covers that. So I want to make sure we do that on that end as far as public safety goes. So, and it's keeping the transportation side, which would include if the road department's back there as well, that kind of meets all those needs.
Right.
So it's just basically from the cut in. And we can do almost like a sentry gate, just something that, somebody can't drive straight through and somebody can't walk around. That's really all it is.
Yeah. I guess the one question, does anybody have any questions on the concrete walls versus blocks?
Now, when we're talking cost savings on the blocks, when we originally quoted out through Great Lakes, he included in those bids. 3 rows high was $22,000 to have with delivery. We're still gonna need a footer foundation underneath those blocks.
Well,
We're looking for long term.
That channel we talked about.
well, so what they did out at Ohio Mulch is that they compacted, they didn't need they don't have it on a concrete footer. They just have it on, they compacted it, and then did it that way. So they're not on a concrete footer, but again, these are design things that we're gonna have to, and how big is is that a 14-foot wall?
It's supposed to be 12. It's supposed to say 10-inch, 14
It
inches.
says precision poured wall, it says 12 by 14.
I didn't change. I had something else in there at once.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 14.
So how high is
10
your
by
poured,
10
how high was that poured wall again?
10 foot high.
We
14
need to
inches
go that high.
Well, 10 foot high is gonna limit the amount of salt that sits or gets pushed on top when we're piling
Yeah,
inside that.
because the one thing that I was talking with the guy from Ohio Mulch and thing is, he said, you may want to think about putting a divider down the middle of it. He says, because what happens is, he goes, if you keep pushing the salt, he says the salt and back will never get, unless you physically pull it out and restart it. He goes, so if you put a center like divider, he goes, you push salt, fill it out, and then he goes, it also helps like when you transition from salt, say you have salt left over, you can move it all over onto one side and then keep it like soil and things like that on the other. He said, you're always rotating. So he says, you're making sure that you're always moving your salt around. He goes, otherwise you're never going to get to the stuff in the back. So what they do with their mulch out there is they're constantly rotating it they're constantly rotating it out to get to the stuff in the back. He goes, otherwise we'd never get it. So I don't know if you've thought about that from an operational standpoint, but that may be something we want to think about.
I have, and we do rotate our salt pretty good the way we have it now.
Right,
One of our problems with the way this is, when that salt sets over summer or during the winter, we're not moving it, that moisture that seeps through those walls.
Yeah.
Leaks through the roof, it creates big chunks of salt.
Yeah.
And then we spend days breaking up those. Some can't get broken and get thrown away.
right,
I think we're gonna have that with these block walls. Ohio Mulch, Mr. Mulch, they're rotating salt out in the spring, putting mulch in. We're gonna be storing what we have left over there.
right. Okay. Well, I mean, it's a cost savings of, so, I mean, it's a little over half, but it's permanent. I mean, if that's what we want, that's fine. So I think just in terms of moving forward and getting this thing, I think we can start with permit drawings. And the permit drawing. So here's what I would suggest on the permit drawing. So we had the structure people put together a wall detail. I think we try to get as much as we can from our vision. I can put these drawings together. And then I have a structural engineer buddy of mine that will take the work and look them over and stamp them. So it'll be reduced costs on the design fee. And then we just got to get those into and then have a discussion with Dublin about what we're doing.
Now, the
So-
structure, Great Lakes is gonna provide the stamp drawings for the structure.
Right,
Now, they will provide foundation drawings, but that is an extra charge. Once we order the structure,
right,
decide what we're gonna go with, they will do the foundation drawings that we need.
okay.
From there,
But that's not included in what's here.
that's not included.
Do you know how much they said those would be?
He wanted to know which way, he's gonna have to reach out to Winkler, with Daryl Miller.
Yeah.
And have them provide a cost for that.
Can you get
I
on?
mean, even an estimate, just,
Yeah, can you get on a call with them and Andy? Figure this out.
Because I think what we can do, Ian, is to keep this thing moving, is get the permit drawings, get the demolition. Find out from Dublin what we need from a demolition standpoint, like to do the demo.
Well, that's what I was wondering, do we need? Like, if we're gonna have to go for the building permit, or the submit,
Yeah,
are we gonna need the demolition plan and kind of the site plan, the foundation?
that's a question with Dublin is that, I mean, we could just say, hey, we want a demolition permit to demo while we're doing the permitting, but they're gonna want to know eventually what we're doing. So I think we have enough drawings to sit down and show them what we're doing, maybe just tighten up the wall drawings that we got from Precision to kind of show them what it's gonna look like. And then, but that's where they're gonna try to impose. Huh?
You need Peter.
Yeah, probably, because he's gonna
Explain,
have to explain to them that, what the
Yeah.
rules of engagement are.
Yeah.
So. And I mean, the demo plan, do we know if we have any, are we pretty confident we don't have any asbestos or anything like that in any of those buildings?
Just with structure.
Yeah.
Like any
Or
kind
structure.
of lead paint or anything like
I
that?
don't believe so.
Okay,
I don't believe so.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, we probably need to get a, we need to find out from Dublin if we can get a demo. I'll do that. I'll get that research done and then the design piece. So let's get a meeting with the guy from that to figure out what they're supplying and everything like that.
Okay.
I'll set that up, he's pretty good at that.
Okay. Yeah, get something on the calendar.
Okay.
Okay.
One other thing I wanted to
Yep.
talk about, when we were talking about the concrete block,
Mhm.
I wanted to get enough to make a barrier for the salt. We gotta have a spot on those parking lots to put the salt.
Yeah.
And those, like you're speaking about a barrier, we could use those inside to block off and make the barrier if we need.
How many are you thinking?
20, and I can pick them up in Marengo.
What's the cost on that? Fine.
1640. Moretz out of Marengo, Ohio. They're 2 foot by 2 foot by 6 foot.
By 6 foot, yeah. And we can always, like, if we don't have use, we can always
I see,
get rid of them.
I see we'd have uses back
So
there.
you're going to pick them up?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah.
I just need approval to get that started so we can get those picked up before
How much are we talking about?
1640, $1,640.
So 1800?
Not to exceed 1,800.
Okay,
If they're $85 a piece.
I move to, authorize the expenditure not to exceed $1,800 for, concrete blocks.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Yes. You'll get something on the calendar. He'll do his research on that one.
I will, yeah, I'll
Okay.
get with Daryl, see the meeting.
Okay. Anything else for the department? Your reports in the folder.
I'll report in there.
Okay. Thank you for putting the no outlet sign and the other things and I import and all that wonderful stuff.
I'm sorry, real quick, on the water crews have also been through in Brookside Estates. Do you know what is going on
On Ion or?
on Darwin?
I have no clue on that.
Okay, people were asking about that. I'm assuming it's not related. They wouldn't have to go that far away.
No, they should have been. I don't make it down every day to check. There was water testing gonna be going on the golf course last week.
Okay, so that shouldn't,
They
okay.
had,
Okay. Folks were asking about that, and then I got another report of lights being out, but I have not validated which ones they are, so I will get back to you if they are. Wanna come?
yeah, I have a report of one at 161 and Danbury.
These are on McVeigh, but I'm hoping that they're the ones that we've already had fixed, so I'll let you know.
I can have first shifts, check them out, so.
Oh, that would be great. So it's all I know is on McVeigh near the 161 entrance. I don't, and supposedly two, but I don't know. Thank you.
Okay, well, next day or so, we'll get you something.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know,
There's still 3 old sodium, high pressure sodium lights down there. It's in the tip.
okay, so maybe it's just the lower,
It's our buildings.
Probably
Anything else? Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Police department chief, I see a lot of
Oh.
events on there.
Look, your fire report real quick. The fire.
Oh, sorry, fire.
I only have up Arlington for the month of September. There were 7 calls in the township. All were on Riverside Drive. 6 were traffic crashes. And 1 was a medical emergency at Arlington Point. We're on 7 for the month of September.
Oh, boy. Okay. Thank you for the lunch the other day with the deputy director about that. Camera hidden. No, our administrator's not with us this evening, but real quick, I know that we're trying to set up a meeting for the special improvement district for Summit View. I know we already talked to both Mr. English and Mr. Roper and talked with Ms. Elliott about Friday the 13th. And pick it, but be a special meeting just focused on that particular issue and package is ready for our approval. The next item, and I don't think there's any other facilities issues. Nothing other than the main issue of our discussion. I understand.
not anything major. We found broken water line underneath our kitchen sink. A corroded and broken water line that had been leaking for. We don't know how long under the sink. Our kitchen area.
Was it fixed now? Did you, were you able to fix it?
Yeah, it was off the garbage disposal. It was. When you're running water, it was leaking out the drain.
The next one is the one I didn't want to get to, so. In your packet is a resignation letter from Mary Geis. I'm not making this motion, so.
I don't think anything.
Do we?
We know Jim's not
So
going.
what's the process if you don't accept somebody's resignation letter? Are they, or do they have to do we force them to work here for?
I think, if nothing else, it's just a leave of absence to a later date.
Yeah.
January.
Yeah.
Like January 16th is a good date. I was just throwing it out on top of my head.
Well, Mary, you've been awesome. I mean, way more than awesome, and really, I think all of us are really bummed out that you said, but
We will be
I
missed.
understand we will be missed.
Thank you.
Mr. Roper.
Yeah, I don't know what Mr. Roper's gonna do.
I don't know how to vote. I don't know what to do.
Tell me, go.
Just know the sound Lieutenant Mike's pretty good about all this computer stuff.
Hey,
Stuff organized.
find your own lieutenant.
Yeah.
He's one.
You wanna make that?
I will. Reluctantly, with a heavy heart, make the motion that we accept Mary's resignation. That was.
I'll reluctantly second that.
Vote,
Yes.
Yes.
yes. Audit results, I understand we had a very good audit.
Yeah.
No finding.
In large part, Mary, so.
Yes. And trees, this is a kind of a zoning issue with our office building there, 161 next to the State Farm property.
Okay,
And the neighbor.
the new office
The
building.
new office.
The
building.
investment.
Okay,
And they put in the requested or required screening, but they were in Columbus when they did that. So the neighbors have requested. If we've been looking into this, and there's nothing that, I can't send Ian to go plant trees on private property, so. We're checking with the property owner to see if they would accept a donation of trees. Neighbors would plant them, and we're kind of out of it, so.
donation of trees being funded by.
By a donator of some sort. Don't worry about it.
Wait, what?
Okay.
So there's trees
So can't
behind.
we just can't have them comply with the zoning?
Well, they're in
that we're gonna
compliance.
They are in.
Yeah, they're in compliance. It isn't like
Oh,
they
so
were
this
out of
isn't a
compliance.
compliance
It's
issue.
just- to be honest with you, if they went through our process, we probably would have negotiated a little bit more screening, but we did this with the church.
So who's
Who
not
is
getting
concerned?
screened?
These houses over here. This particular house. That one.
One house.
Huh?
Is it one?
One house is complaining to the other house, and we turned it into two houses.
Well, but wait a second. So they're not even adjacent to the
No.
property.
They're not.
So they
We're
don't.
not, we're not funding anything. Just let me know,
Oh,
trying to make everybody.
yeah.
happy.
Well, and establishing precedents that are
No, I'm not
more
doing that.
difficult too.
I'm not doing
Okay.
that. You know, Bear Township, sky's always blue and the grass is always green, so, and no crime.
I do have one thing I want to bring up, that just as a notice, thanks to our lieutenant. If y'all remember, we replaced body armor last year and this year, and we had a 75% grant that covered the cost of the body armor. And Mike was able to get the 25% that we paid, that is being reimbursed to us in the next 3 to 6 months. We just got approval for it today.
Congratulations. Good job.
Good job.
Can you put me in on this?
Yeah,
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Fiscal officer,
Request a motion for approval of payroll and disbursements.
I'll make that motion.
second, vote,
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, Anything else for the good of the order? I guess Civic Association waiting, look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Oh, second.
Vote?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.